Hello everyone, this is my Utopian lecture and we'll be on utopias and dystopias. So let's get right into it with defining first the concept of utopianism. So utopianism is the concept of social dreaming or imaginative projection. So the term utopia, when broken down, means nowhere. So it brings up the idea of a perfect but non-existent a place in a space and time. So when in definition, it's a place, state, or condition where everything is ideally perfect in terms of politics, laws, custom, and conditions. And there could be different kinds of utopias, which is something we will touch upon. And so utopia is like a point of fascination since it's the extreme nature of imagining the grand of something. And so it's sort of like a reflection of human nature within the individual, since the idea of human nature being purely good is what this utopia strives to go for. So then we touch upon the paradox, which is the human imagination in order to produce their utopia or this better place must come from a discontent or dissatisfaction. However, this projection of perfection can never be realized or reached. And so it is non-existent until the human imagination makes it in order to satisfy the discontent that one is feeling. So there are different types. There's utopias, which is a positive utopia that illustrates a better society than the reality one, which is something illustrated as the golden age or paradise. And then the one that we are focusing on today is dystopias, which is a negative utopia illustrating a bad place. And its intention is to illustrate a place worse than the reality we are in. And then there's utopia satire, which is a utopia that is viewed to be seen as a criticism towards an existing society right now. And then there are two others, such as the anti-utopia, which is a criticism towards utopianism itself and other utopias. And then there's critical utopia, which its intention is to produce a better society than the current one. However, it has problems with like uncertified solutions, which leads to having a critical view towards the utopia genre. So then we're going to go into utopia society that has been illustrated in literature. And the first one being what started it all, the Sir Thomas More Utopia, which was made in 1516. And the idea was that it's a fictional island in the Atlantic Ocean, and it's very communal. There's no private property. There's no greed, corruption, or power struggle within there. It's the perfect world in the eyes of Sir Thomas More, who back in his historical context with England having this monarch and everything, he did not really agree upon. So then the other one would be Pluto's Republic, although his view wasn't towards utopia. It's his ideal city can be considered a utopia where like everything is designed and there's a hierarchy which is supposed to represent the soul of the humans. Again, the idea of utopians connecting to human nature. So you have rulers at the top representing reason, guardians in the middle with passion, and merchants with appetite. And so each class has its role to guide and aid the ideal city to make everything function right. And then lastly, Pluto's Atlantis, which is a fictional island where the people there have high values and aren't influenced by other luxuries, which gives into the idea of a perfect world where there's no corruption by greed or other selfish feelings that come from human nature. So then we go into media, utopian medias. So I put two examples. There's The Giver, where their society is illustrated to be a perfect world where there's no fear, conflict, pain, hunger, illness, no ill intention. And it gives the state of a Garden of Eden where everything has their laws and no one is suffering. And then you have this futuristic society from this 1997 movie, Gaia, which is where everything is genetically engineered and leading to people having preferred traits and a reduction likelihood of disease. So everything seems to represent an perfect deal. However, there are hidden flaws within these utopias, and again, representing the human imagination where it originates. So back to the literature ones, you have Sir Thomas More's, even though the city is like communal and everyone gets along, however, everything is in uniformity. So there's no individualism since people there have a current role. No one has their own things. Everyone has like the same kind of clothing. Everything is almost similar. There's no room for change, which goes into Pluto's republic where like education is regarded highly. And so children are regulated to think of a certain way. And again, there's a rigid enforced Catholic system in the hierarchy. No one can move or fluctuate. Everything is still. And then for Pluto's Atlantis, as a result of human nature intruding, the Atlanteans are corrupted and the society is destroyed. All of their themes is that change can mess up the state of the perfect society. But that's the main flaw into it all. Everything moves forward and things change. People will want investment, thus a society can truly never stay pure. As a result, conflict comes up and this leads to the big main thing, dystopians. So a little bit of context of like dystopias. We go into the Communist Manifesto, where it was written towards the working and lower classes, where like the rich people strive, while those below did not. So for Marx and Engels, they touched upon utopian socialism, with the concept of it just being an imagination and no one strives to implement into it a reality. So then, in Marx's eyes, communism is the blueprint towards utopianism. However, in history, whenever it's been implemented, it never really worked well. So then it goes into dystopias, which is defined again as a bad place where no one wants to live, in which no one has rights or freedom. And it could be illustrated in different controls, corporate, bureaucratic, technological, and philosophical and religion, which then touched upon back towards the media societies earlier. You have here, when touching upon further expansion, these utopian society shift into dystopias. For example, for the giver, then they took out fear. This regards to other emotions as well, which leads to no thoughts or feelings, which is something that makes humans humans. And so there's this lack of individualism, leading there to be no freedom for the people in the society. And for Gratia, since there is a division that is made from the genetically modified and those that are not, which leads to discrimination among people with when it comes to skills and jobs, as well as how your life is played out. So then, with all this considered, can there be a possibility of these utopias not becoming dystopias? It's a really difficult question since there has to be many perspectives to be taken upon. One can say to take it from the individual standpoint and to expand it upon, but that creates the main issue of it all. It's one individual's perspective. They're the ones being discontent about a concept within the reality in the society. Although they may create a new society of a utopia, some people may be satisfied while others are not. So then it goes into the human mind, and there's this duality when it comes to it, where there is a good and evil, which again can reflect in the extragulation towards prosperity or destruction, utopias and dystopias. This leads to the main thing of the imagination, where it comes from the human nature and its polarity. Utopias can act like a mirror for humans to imagine in their vision something better, while dystopias demonstrate a society that is something we fear most about itself. So then it leads to any of the two truly being pure because there will always be a flaw among the two, which leads to limits and downfall for both. And again, it goes back to the utopian paradox. The truly ideal way to prevent utopias from converting into dystopias is to take away humanity, the imagination. Since utopias originate from dissatisfaction and discontent of an individual, for it to prevent it from going off and expand, the imagination must stop. Without conflict, a dystopia is prevented from happening, but humanity is taken and everything is stalled. So then it really brings the question, is it really worth it? And that is all for my lecture. Thank you so much for watching. Greatly appreciate it. I hope you had a good idea of this utopias and dystopias. Thank you and have a good day.